Hello, everyone. Welcome to Friday Live. My name is Ashley Hay. I'm an artist and also the importer of Powertex for Australia. So I am thrilled to be here with you again, as I am every Friday, to inspire you creatively for the weekend, to get into your studio or art room and do something creatively. So, of course, what we are focusing on at the moment is what can you do with fabric? So, I am often asked, the question, how can I do fur? How can I make it look soft and woolly and fuzzy? So, I'm going to take you through a few pros and cons today of using Powertex with woolly fabric. So I have used simply wool, and I'll talk a bit more about that in a minute, but I'm going to do a little demonstration later on, so be sure and hang out for that one. And of course, as usual, if you are here, please let me know. I would love to say hey to you. And of course, it would also be wonderful if you are watching in replay, if you could drop a comment as well and just let me know you're watching. So welcome everyone. It is wonderful to have you here, as I say. So what we are looking at today, as I said before, is fluff, fibre and form. So what can we actually do with fluffy fibres, and how can we make them work with Powertex Universal Medium? So today I will be using transparent Powertex and wool, and I am showcasing what I've done over the last week with this bunny. So it has been a lot of fun to do. He wanted to be something at the beginning, which he's not. And, as you go, your ideas and things transpire and transform, and they tell you what they want to be and what they want to be doing. So he is still a work in progress. I'm not sure what more I'm going to do with him, but you can see he is very cute. He has this beautiful reddy orange coat, and he has that colour coming through underneath everywhere. His ears, I am loving his little ears as well. I'll just see if I can hold it up. There you go. So everything is harmonised by the colour that I have actually put on, which of course, for those of you who know me, is Vista. Now, I couldn't help myself. I had to do it before I showed him to you because I really wanted him to be looking super cute for a picture, but I have got some progress shots along the way. So just choose something, choose a form that you would like to make the form, and then play with fibres. Now, this is especially for those of you who are textile artists who love working with coloured fibres and fabrics, particularly things like velvets, wools, anything that you want to keep looking soft. So I have not kept mine looking soft, but I will show you how you can do that. The reason I didn't want to was because I wanted to take some colour onto him. And I've got to say, I am really liking him now that he has some colour. So let's take a look at how he was looking. I'll just turn this off and we'll bring up a photo. So this is how he started off. So you can see he started with the sculptural form on the left-hand side. And so that was him formed up with stone art and power smooth mix for his face, his feet and his hands. And probably I didn't need to go that far based on what I ended up doing to him. Ordinarily, if I do stone art, I will actually leave the stone art and paint it up in some way, maybe do a small amount of patterning. But of course, he ended up with fibres and fabrics all over him. In the middle shot, this is how he was looking. And so like I say, I actually spent quite a lot of time choosing the wool that I wanted in the colour, and I have used transparent Powertex, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But you can see the wool is quite orange. I really wanted a rust coloured wool, but I couldn't find something that was perfect. The top right-hand corner is actually, it doesn't show you very well because I didn't actually take a close-up shot of it while he wasn't covered. But it is soft, and it looks soft, it feels soft, and it is adhered. And then the bottom right-hand shot is actually where I have then put Powertex over the top of the soft wool, and it gets this kind of wet look, which isn't very pretty, I've got to say. So, which is why I am excited to take the colour onto him, and how I am so excited now he's got some bistre and things happening. So that is basically a sneaky peek of the process that I went through. So if I hold him up here, you may be able to see that he is, you know, quite hardened in all of these fibres, and it looks really nice now. Every surface actually looks really lovely. And so I'm really liking it. What I am going to do is probably take some pigments, some matte pigments back onto it. So a rust colour, the mocha, and then of course highlight some of the ivory Powertex with maybe some titanium white, just where I want it to be sharper and clearer in terms of, you know, what to highlight some elements. So yes, so there he is, and I will take you, I'll show you the wool that I actually used. So this was the orange wool, so it is actually quite thick, and this is the wool I used for his white. Now, it is not a bright white colour, it's kind of an off grey colour, which I liked because it wasn't so stark. But then as I was working, I found that I, like I say, I just wanted to change the colours. Me being a bisque girl and a painter, I couldn't just leave the fibres and fabrics alone. But if you are a textile artist, then you're going to want to make your fibres be the king or queen of your piece. So you want to allow them to have their original colour. You want to maybe work with stitched and worked fibres and fabrics that you've made up. So I have found a number of things over the years, and I'm going to do a little demo on this part of his ear that I haven't actually finished. And I think the perspective on this, let me just shoot down to this other vision here, and we'll see what it's like. So I think it's actually better where you see him up close. Oh, that's not too bad. So I'll bring him in here, and you can see his ear pretty well there. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of the wool onto this unfinished area here, and I'm going to show you how I've done it. So you can see, first of all, that I've cut my wool into some smaller strips. So off of the large roll that I had, I just cut some smaller strips just for convenience, to make it easier to actually cut up. And then I just teased that apart. Now, it is a little bit time consuming, but I actually really enjoyed doing it. It was very meditative and a lot of fun. So I'm sure that you will really, really enjoy it. So welcome, Nicole. Thanks for watching. So Nicole's just saying, Beautiful bunny, and oh my God, look at his gorgeous tail and bum. So yes, he is rather cutesy. So I've got a few bits cut up here now. And what I have found is I want to actually cut some, I'll just pop this up on here so you can have a look. So I've just got some that are cut in various sizes. So some of them are smaller. They've all kind of grouped up now. Some of them are smaller and some of them are kind of longer. And I just choose the shape to sort of fill the gaps, and I tease it as I need to. So these ones are quite, good if I just want to do a little edgy bit. I can, of course, cut longer strands if I want to. But with this wool, I particularly liked the way it looked really furry when I put it on in these small bits. So, of course, I did try some different ways of putting it on and putting it on in longer strands. I tried curling it around, and you might find, oh, excuse me, you might find you have really good success with that. It depends on the look that you want. So with his little hands and his feet, I wanted it to look longer, like furry fur. Where it kind of felt like it was going around his form. So in that instance, I did cut the pieces longer and I teased them around. So, but for his furry fur on his body, I wanted it to be more sort of clumpy and fluffy looking than strandy. This, of course, is my go-to fabric, my great love t-shirt material, and you can see why I do love it. So you could see an alternative to the wool. I could actually use t-shirt material in the entirety, like I have done on the last rabbit. But like I say, I want to push some different materials for you and sort of just highlight, possibilities that you can then explore creatively yourself in your own work. So there are just so many possibilities with Powertex. It is absolutely endless. And the fact that you can get transparent as a textile artist, you can do some superb work. I am not a textile artist, just a disclaimer there. So fabrics and fibres I tend to use more texturally than working with the colours and, pre-stitched things. If I could pre-stitch, that would be kind of fun. But me and sewing machines, we just don't work very well together. So I get frustrated because the machine never does exactly what I want it to do. So I'm just going to cut a few more strands of this fabric up just so that I have enough to finish his little ears here. And then after I've done this, I will talk to you about the white wool that I've done as well. So, or the greyish coloured wool. So it is off-white. It is not pure white. Okay, so of course I am using transparent Powertex. This one has been around for a little while. So it has a crazy label because I've been using it and pushing it around, and yeah, as you do. Okay, so I've got a little bit of transparent Powertex out. I have got water here as well, and I've got a damp cloth, and I've got some brushes and tools. I do normally like to also have a kebab stick to just tease things, but I've forgotten to bring those, but I have got some other tooly things that I can use in replacement of that. So sometimes I find I get little sticky fingers and my fingers want to pull the wool off. So I can just use these to hold some of that down. All right, so I am going to just dampen my brush off first. Got a dry cloth here. And so I'm dampening my brush and then I am drying it off. So it actually has just a soft amount of water in that brush so that the Powertex transparent actually doesn't go up underneath the bezel and ruin the brush. So just a little bit of brush care tip for you there. It is good practice with your Powertex to actually dampen your brush off first before you use it. Okay, so I'm just going to do that little bit there. And then, of course, I just get some of this fluffy wool. I hope you can see that. I'll bring him in a little bit closer so that you've got a better view. I'll move this wool around here. Okay, so you can see that the difference in the colour. And so I can literally just push that down now. And it gets this really gorgeous texture. And because there is Powertex in underneath it, I don't need to worry about putting the Powertex onto the actual wool itself. I'm literally just pushing that into the wet Powertex. And you can see how those fuzzy little bits being pre-cut are actually really nice. This one is a bit more strandy. So, you know, if I wanted a bit more strandy, I can just open it up. But you do want to make sure that you have a good amount of Powertex on that surface that you're actually joining the wool to. And like I say, keep your fingers clean and clear. All right, so I'm going to pop a little bit more Powertex on there now. So I just don't put too much on at a time so that it doesn't dry off, because I want that to be really wet when I'm adding that wool onto there. Okay. There we go. Alrighty, so again, I've got a decent amount on there, so I'm not just playing, you know, putting it on really thinly. I'm putting a decent coating onto that surface. So you can see the contrast of how that wool colour actually looks compared to how it looks now with the bistre on it. And so, of course, if I put the bistre on the fuzzy wool, it would just kind of soak in and go really dull. So that's why, you know, I coated the top of the wool. And, well, I coated the top of the wool to see how it would look and whether it would be soft. And I tried a couple of different things. I have done this in the past, but it's been many years since I've actually used wool or silk threads. And so if I'm using something where I want the original surface to actually be the texture that comes through, this is what I do. I will back the coating on the back of the fabric. So particularly if it's velvet, there's usually a cotton piece on the back of the velvet. And then, you know, I would have the Powertex down as usual on the area where I want to join it to. Whereas, you know, with this, like I say, I just want a little bit of Powertex on there, so it's got a decent amount. And I did find that doing this, it was all adhered really, really well, because what I did was, once it was on there, I spray misted it with just some water. And so what the water did was it just made sure that all the fibres were stuck down. But of course, then when the water dried, it went back to just being this gorgeous fuzzy sort of fabric, but it was all stuck down really well and really still nice and fuzzy, like you can see it is now. With the areas where it got this sort of wet look, I kind of went, oh, you know, I don't really like that, but I didn't fall in love with this colour. So this colour wasn't really what I envisaged. I really envisaged more like this sort of rusty colour of the wool, and I just couldn't find something that I loved. And so I kind of settled for this orange colour, and I went, oh, that'll be fine. And I had this other one as well, but you can see the softness of that. And that would actually, you know, stay soft, feel really textural if I didn't put Powertex over the top of it. The downside is that over time it might come off a little bit, like a teddy bear's fur would wear and come away a little bit. So, you know, you just need to be a little bit mindful of that. Whereas the fact that I've actually put the Powertex on the outside of the fur on this part of him is actually going to make it far more permanent. And, you know, nothing is going to come off. So I do like that. So there you go. So let's keep going and get that little bit done. It is actually quite quick once you, you know, get a bit of a roll on with it. You can actually, you know, get a good area happening fairly quickly once you pre-cut those bits of wool. So Fiona, welcome. And Fiona's just saying, oh, I love the wool. So yes, it is a bit of fun. And it is, you know, it would be a really good alternative for hair as well. So I think, Fiona, it was you asking me about, you know, options for hair the other week. So of course you could use string, you could use wool in the same way as I have used wool on the rabbit. It doesn't have to be a rabbit sculpture, of course, it could be something else. But of course, with Easter coming up, it's kind of nice to do something that is kind of a little bit themed for this month. Okay, so I have filled all those gaps, and then once that is dry, if I find that, you know, there's still a couple of gaps coming through, like you can see, there are a few little gaps coming through on some of this, but I'm not minding it. So I could actually add a little bit more fur into some of these areas if I chose. This little area here, I probably will put a little bit more fur into. I can do that now while I've got my brush, and it doesn't matter if it's a different colour because I can just colour it up later. So I just feel like I'd like him a little bit more furry on the back of his neck there, so that that sort of blends in with what is happening. So it's not a thick amount, it's just a little thin, fluffy little amount that I want in there. Just to kind of feel, there's a little bit of a dip, I guess, that I can see. I don't know if you can see it, but a little bit dippy there. We can't be having dippy on his fur, right? Now, the thing that I can't do is I can't actually, you know, put the transparent over the top until it is stuck down. Otherwise, it will just all come away. So what I did at that point, I haven't remembered to bring my spray bottle, so I'll just wet a brush here. I can just tap that down because I want that to feel like it's part of the surrounding areas. And so that will, once that is dry, then I can take that Powertex on the top of that. Now, there's a couple of different ways that I can apply the Powertex to it. I just used a brush with the Powertex on it once the Powertex was dry and it was stuck down and it didn't move. So that is one option. The other option that you can do is you can use a spray mister. And when I coated the top, I didn't do it fully Powertex. I watered the Powertex transparent down a little bit to about a 50-50 mix, so that it kind of still retained a little bit of softness to it, but it really made it all stuck down very well. And I experimented with that because I went, oh, I wonder if that will keep it soft, but it still went hard, but it didn't it didn't look as shiny and wet as it did where I had put the full amount of Powertex down full strength. So actually watering the Powertex down for that top layer, when it's felt or when it's something that you want to retain the softness or the colour of without it getting sort of that wet look, that's where you can actually water it down a little bit. So I have had people who are very clever with making lace on their sewing machines actually do things like you can create form with lace. So a while back I met someone who was creating like a village for Christmas, like a Christmas village with lace that they had done on their sewing machine, and they just wanted something to harden the fibres and fabrics enough to give it a little bit of stiffness. And there's always one bit that comes off, right, because you fiddle too much. So yeah, they did exactly what I'm suggesting now, which is watered the Powertex down to a 50-50 mix, and it just gave it enough stiffness to actually hold it in place without it being all floppy. And so it just gave that extra little bit of stiffness there. So I am happy with that. So essentially that is going to be very soft still until I put that 50-50 mix of Powertex transparent and water over the top of it and stick it down on the top. And once that's done, and like I say, my preferred method is a brush because I use a brush for everything, but you could do it with a spray mister as well, totally up to you. So there you have it. That's how to get the softness. And then, like I say, when you put the Powertex over the top, I really liked the fact that it went harder. And then I went, oh, now I can take my colours on, and I'm so excited to get into this with a bit of pigment and really finish him off really, really beautifully. So I'll have to share that with you. Now, the other thing that I did promise that I would show you is this wool. So with this wool, like I say, I did cut it longer. And so I have used this around the edge of the ears, and I simply just, you can separate the strands. So you can work strand by strand. You can pull it so that it actually, gets more fluffiness to it. So depending on the look that you want. And again, I put it down exactly the same way by putting the wet transparent down first. And that's how I have done his face, his hands, his breast piece here and his little cute feet, which are just cute as a button. So around the ears here, what I did was put transparent Powertex on there, and then I just kind of unraveled that and put it around the edges in about that length and made it look like it was actually joined up. So that was actually really nice to work with. So different type of wool. So this one actually has several strands. So you can see it's got 4 strands, whereas I think this one has 2. So different type of wool will behave differently. So just do a test sample, see what happens. Have a play with your ideas. And I'm sure all of you have a huge stash of stuff that you could actually utilize. I didn't have a huge stash of wool because it's not something I really do. I don't knit or crochet or anything like that. And so for me, I did go down and grab some wool that I wanted in the particular colour. So now I've got it. Doesn't matter what colour it is because I can colour it up and make it any colour that I like. So let's just go back to that screen so you can see how the orange wool transforms to what he is now. So what I did was I simply, once the Powertex transparent had dried on the top of his fur and the fur was sealed, I then sprayed it with Bista, original Bista, my favourite one. It's beautiful sepia, and I just sprayed it mainly in the shadow areas and then allowed some of the orange areas to still come through. And now I can create highlights on him by dry brushing some colour back into him. I am loving his little back here, though. I do love the way the colour's coming through there, but I would just like a little bit more colour coming through on his arms and on some of his legs and his belly and maybe his face. Just do some highlights, and to do that I can use the Powertex, the Power Colours, which are the matte pigments from Powertex Art Supplies, and there is a beautiful red ochre and a mocha colour which will just be perfect for him. And of course then I'll give him some sharp highlights with a little bit of titanium white onto some of this ivory so that it just really pops out some areas of colour. His little nose and his eyes, I have used black Power Colour with Easy Coat Glossy, and that's how I've got it so shiny. The Easy Coat Glossy has a beautiful sheen to it. I use it a lot, and I've also used it inside his ears, which is why they look so gorgeous. So I am loving the inside of his ears. So I simply painted them white. I then used the pink Power Colour, painted that on, let it dry off to touch dry, and then I sprayed the Bista on the inside. And because I've got the Bista over sort of predominantly over the whole piece, it ties everything together. It feels really, really cohesive. So there you have it. I hope you have loved that today, and I will just come up onto the double screen again. So I hope you've really enjoyed that. And I've enjoyed sharing him with you. So as I say, he's still a work in progress, so he will be finished with a little bit more attention to detail. And I think that is the thing that makes all the difference to your artwork, is just those finishing little bits of detail, that extra little bit of special attention you give your pieces once they've finished, run your eye over it with a critical eye, look at the surfaces. Do the surfaces look beautiful when you look at them close up? And if not, then what can you do to make them look more beautiful? Can you add a bit more fabric? What is it that you need to do? So there we go. Alrighty. So I'll just quickly run through. So I've used Powertex Transparent because it's going to dry clear. You can see, well, not really. I was going to say you can see it sort of goes white, but it does go white when you put it on to that layer, but it will dry clear. So the Powertex Transparent dries clear, which enables you to keep all the beautiful colours of your textiles, wools, whatever it is that you are using. And then I have used some Power Colours. So the pink for inside the ears, I will be using titanium, white, and also the red ochre and the mocha as well. And of course, I have used the beautiful original Bista, which I love. So if you haven't got any of that, I highly recommend it. And of course, you can get these things from Powertex. So the Powertex supplier in your country. So here in Australia, you can get it online or you can get it from a trainer near you. And if you would love to do a workshop, there's trainers all over Australia and around the world who would be happy to share their expertise with Powertex with you, and it will just fast track you to a better understanding to enable you to create faster and just learn techniques, skills and processes with the medium so that you can really then go, okay, now what can I do with it? And of course, this is what I would like to see during this focus on what can you do with fabric. I would love to see what you can do with fabric. So just pop in to the Powertex Creative Hub. And so it is the Powertex Australia Creative Hub. And make sure you join that. And that is where you can share what you have done, and make sure if it's something from a Friday Live that you just tag me into it and let me know. So Nicole's just saying that she has open studios coming up, and of course there will be Powertex, so Powertex supplies and art making opportunities as well during that open studio. So that is down in Mandurah, and they're the dates on your screen. So of course that is the dates for 2025. And Nicole is a certified Powertex trainer down in Mandurah and does some beautiful work down there. So if you're down that way on those dates, please drop in and check it out. And there's some amazing artist studios open down there. So, alrighty. So join me again next week. And next week, I will be looking at fabric and form. And so we will be looking at moulding fabrics and fibres and fluff and different elements into moulded shapes. So how can we do that? So really, I'm just giving you a little bit of an overview of what you can do with fabric. And I would love to see what you do with fabric, because there are so many beautiful textile artists out there and artists using Powertex. So I only differentiate artists and textile artists because, you know, of the identity with fabrics. And so I know that textile artists go, oh yes, I'm a textile artist because I love fibres, fabrics and form. So if that is you, I would love to see what you do with fabric and form. And because you know, like I am a basher with fabric and form because I love mixed media, and so I play with it, but I don't sew. Like I say, me and sewing machines, we don't go together. So I always fight them, but some of the most beautiful things can be done with stitched material and putting things together using the Powertex to harden the stitched material. So yes, please share what you do, because there is so much scope. But my hope is that, what I'm doing here just gives you a little bit of a spark to go, oh, I could actually do that or that. And it just sparks you to actually want to do something creatively this weekend. So that's my hope. That's why I'm here. And if you would like to follow me, you can subscribe on the YouTube channel, Powertex Australia, and join me there weekly. You'll get notifications if you ring the bell that I am alive. And of course, there are so many videos that you can watch on that channel as well, because I've been live streaming since February 2020. All right, everyone. Well, I hope you have a super creative weekend, and I look forward to joining you again next week with some little, I got an arty package in the mail this week, and I will be sharing what that was on next Friday's live, and we will be looking at moulding. All right, so let me know in the chat what your guess is. What was in my arty package? I love getting little arty packages, and so it was really, really nice, and it was in the shape of a house. So there was a box in there that's the shape of a house. So I'm sort of going, oh, what can I do with that box? So turn rubbish into artwork, and it means that we're recycling things. Okay, everyone. Ciao for now. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you again next Friday for Friday Live and moulding fabrics and fibres.